Hi, I'm Olivia Mead, and I'm the founder and CEO of the nonprofit organization Yoga for First Responders. Since our beginning, YFFR has had the great privilege and opportunity to introduce yoga to firefighters all over the United States and Canada. Today, we're excited to build on that experience by partnering with the International Association of Firefighters and to bring you this introductory yoga module. We hope after today you'll consider yoga as a viable tool for mental and neurological training. Yoga. What is it? What's it for? Why do people do it? I bet you're thinking we're about to do some stretching today. Or maybe you think we're going to sit on the yoga mat, light some incense, and zen out. There are many misconceptions about what yoga is for and what practicing yoga looks like. This is due to the branding and marketing of yoga in Western culture that has perpetuated certain stereotypes. In fact, the original intention behind yoga is extremely beneficial for warrior cultures and personnel of public safety. Why? Because the original intention of yoga is not stretching at all, nor is it relaxation. Let's address each of these common beliefs about yoga directly. Stretching. Stretching has a connotation of a sit and reach, where you focus primarily on the muscles. Not only is this ineffective, it's not targeting the primary cause of immobility. Immobility is caused by stress and trauma stored in the connective tissue and joints as the body's attempt to protect you with a fascia body armor. The only way to restore mobility is to process stress and eradicate the stress and trauma from the tissues themselves. Not only is our common understanding of stretching not proving effective, stretching is actually not a yoga practice at all, and not once mentioned in the ancient texts of this 5,000-year-old philosophy and science. Relaxation. Most people don't look to a yoga mat to relax. In fact, one may feel an enormous amount of pressure, assuming that the expectation is for them to sit on a yoga mat and feel relaxed, when they know most likely they're going to feel uncomfortable instead. Often, in order to feel relaxed quicker, one will reach for a relaxation method that gives a temporary false sense of calm, such as consuming alcohol, watching TV, getting a massage, or going on a vacation once a year. What all of those things have in common is that they are all outside sources you have to depend on to feel relief. They offer only a temporary fix, and you are unable to be functional and in action while using them. Having to wait until you are off duty or on vacation to feel nervous system relief hardly feels fair or sustainable. Yoga goes biologically deeper than stretching or relaxation. Yoga is training permanent biological transformation. If yoga isn't for stretching or relaxation, and if I'm not here to make you touch your toes or to take your stress away, then what is yoga for? The original intention of yoga is to train mastery over the mind and optimal functioning of the entire psychophysiological system. How often have you felt victim to your own mind? Have you ever felt your thoughts have kept you from sleeping or make you feel increasingly angry or worried? Just like a puppy, we have to train our mind to sit and stay instead of wandering off and causing chaos. Yoga is a mental and neurological training system. What does it mean when you train mastery over your mind and optimal functioning of your entire system? It means that you have the ability to process stress in a manner that leads to growth versus depletion, and ability to build mental and physical resilience toward incoming stress. What does this mean for your career, to have the ability to process stress and build resilience? You are training proactive preparedness for the job, leading to long-term survivability. In order for yoga to be an effective training tool for the benefits I just listed, it must enroll principles of mindfulness and resilience. Yoga is meant to be a mindfulness-building technique, but that doesn't mean yoga will always be practiced mindfully. What does mindfulness even mean? At Yoga for First Responders, we define mindfulness as alert presence. For alert presence to exist in any activity, whether it's yoga or hose drills, these three ingredients must be in place. 1. Intention. A specific goal in mind. 2. Action. and action toward that intention where the mind, body, and nervous system are all working together in coherence. And 3, awareness or purposeful attention, surrounding that action so you can make split-second course corrections using real-time feedback. Without awareness, you may miss split-second critical information that could alter an important course of action. Many people define resilience as bouncing back or sticking with it. At Yoga for First Responders, we define resiliency on a deeper level, which you could call robustness or psychophysiological endurance. Resilience has precise training applications. Yoga for First Responders believes that in order to be a resilient person, you must train to be. To effectively train resilience, these ingredients must be in place. Proactive training that targets the somatic, cognitive, and neurological bodies alike. The training has to be in place long before the challenge hits. This is true for the fireground as well as your mental and physical functioning. Growth from challenge versus just bouncing back. What if you could train your neurological system to become stronger because of stress and challenge versus just bouncing back from it? And consistent recovery techniques. You are only as resilient as your ability to recover. By recovery, I don't mean relaxation on the couch. Remember, yoga does not teach relaxation. I'm talking about short and consistent methods of regulating the nervous system that you can do whenever you need it, not only after action or after shift. These two concepts, mindfulness and resilience, are important because both skills are susceptible to training, but only if one knows exactly what they are and are given a concise and tactical approach. Research studies in public safety personnel have shown that those who practice specific mindfulness and resilience building techniques experience more effective communication and cooperation within work teams, enhanced work performance, improvement in family relationships, reduction in stress, controlling heart rate variability, leading to optimal states of performance and control of tactical skills while under stress. Yoga is a practical training tool for mindfulness and resilience that is consistent, effective, and safe, and can easily be part of your personal routine or department's training schedule. Here's how. Yoga for First Responders takes traditional yoga and its original intent and tailors it to the needs of first responders. Yoga for First Responders training protocol is job-specific for your line of work and culturally informed to increase buy-in and sustainability. Yoga for First Responders trains a skill set for processing stress, building resilience, and enhancing job performance. We aren't teaching you how to relax. You probably already know how to do that. Yoga for First Responders is teaching you how to regulate the nervous system, how to effectively be with stress and activation for optimal performance, and how to regulate after action for proper recovery. Let's try it now. No need for a yoga mat or even yoga pants. As we say at Yoga for First Responders, all pants are yoga pants. The most important piece of YFFR protocol is tactical breath work. This is the key to mastering your mind and stress response. Controlling your breath patterns, giving you direct access to your nervous system as well as mental control. When you have control of your nervous system, you can process stress and use stress to your advantage. We will practice 2 techniques now, 3-part breath and recovery breath. We will show you first, and then you'll practice it. Remember, any of these techniques you can do wherever you are, your bunk room, the bay of a fire station, or even the gym. So if you're seated, you could stay seated if you'd like, or you can stand to do these exercises. If you're sitting on a chair, move a little bit forward so you have enough space around you. So let's watch Eric do the breathing techniques first, and then we'll try them. He's going to start by placing his hands on his belly. There are 3 ingredients to hitting the calm button on your nervous system. Breathing through your nose, breathing into your belly, and making sure the exhale is lasting longer than the inhale. He's going to do all this breath work through his nose. Taking a big breath in, notice his belly expands like a balloon against his hands, and then as he exhales, the belly deflates. So again, inhale, the belly expands. Exhale, the belly deflates. Even though this is simple, it's a little bit difficult to feel at first because we normally don't breathe down into the belly. And make sure you're releasing any obvious tension in the jaw or the shoulders. He might also be feeling the expansion in the back of his body as well, so it's 360 degrees around. Now, keeping one hand on the belly to monitor belly breathing, he's going to take the other hand to the ribs. Inhale, belly expands, and the ribs press against his top hand, widening open like an accordion. And then exhale, the ribs deflate, followed by the belly. So let's see that again. Inhale, belly, followed by the ribs. Remember, this is exaggerated, pronounced breathing. It's not natural, casual breathing. Good, one more time. Inhale, belly. Ribs expand, maybe pause, and then a very slow exhale, ribs, followed by belly. So watch, he's going to keep his hand on the belly and then take the hand that was on the ribs and place it on the chest underneath the collarbones. Same thing, slow inhale, the belly expands, followed by the ribs all the way around, followed by the chest, and he's not lifting his shoulders. We don't want any unnecessary tension. Just breathe up to the collarbones. Inhale, belly. Ribs, chest, front, side, and back, pause. Slow exhale, the chest deflates, followed by the ribs, then finally followed by the belly. Simple enough, right? Let's do it together. Remember, if you're on your chair, move forward. Otherwise, you can also stay standing if you're standing. Placing your hands on your belly way low, like where the belt is. Take an inhale and feel your belly press against your belt and your hands. Exhale, slowly let the belly deflate. Again, it's okay if it's difficult to feel this at first. It'll come. Inhale, belly. Even the kidneys feel like they're expanding open. Slow exhale. This is the simplest sort of foundational version of three-part breath, just the belly breathing. And even if you just learn to master that, it will have a great effect. But to continue on with three-part breath, take your hand and place it on the ribs. So you have one hand on the belly, one hand on the ribs. Inhale, belly expands. Ribs widen. There are muscles in and around your rib cage, and feel those muscles stretch open as you breathe in. And almost like you're resisting the exhale as the ribs deflate, and then the belly. Good, one more time. Inhale, belly. Ribs, keeping it through the nose. Exhale, ribs, and then belly. Take the hand that's on your ribs. Let's place it on the chest underneath your collarbones. Let all the breath out first. And then inhale, belly expands. Rib cage all the way up to the chest, feeling the space between the shoulder blades widen. Now exhale, ribs, and then belly. Good. One more time. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest, pause, slow, resisting the exhale, the chest and the upper back deflate, then the ribs, then the belly. Now keep going, keep doing this three-part breath. We're going to add what we call recovery breath. Recovery breath ensures that your exhale is lasting longer than your inhale. And this is a great technique whenever you feel like you're a little overly activated and you need to regulate and recover. You can do it whenever you want. So we're going to do three-part breath, but now as you inhale, belly, ribs, chest, count in for 3. So inhale, 1, 2, ribs, 3, chest, pause. Now exhale, counting to yourself for 5, exhaling 4, exhaling 3, evenly for 2 and 1. Let's try that again. Inhale, belly 1, ribs 2, chest 3, pause, exhale 5. Don't let all the breath out at once. 3, 2, 1. Last time. Inhale. 1, 2, 3. Shoulders down. Release any jaw tension. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's three-part breath followed by recovery breath. Continuing with the foundation of a measured and exaggerated breath pattern in order to continually have access to your nervous system, we will now add on the physical drill portion of the training protocol. Physical drills build strength in small stabilizing muscles that are often missed in other workouts and remain weak. Physical drills effectively optimize mobility, focusing on functional movement for job performance. Physical drills process stress hormones out of the tissues, blood, and joints. Physical drills create a challenge in order to practice training under stress while maintaining control of the nervous system using the breath. We will demonstrate the drills, and then you will practice them. We will also give you adaptations of these drills. Remember, the physical drills are only a vehicle to train the mind and nervous system and eradicate stress from the tissues. Don't worry about strength or mobility, that will come. Our first drill is called sun breath or half sun salutation. Eric's going to demonstrate it first, and then you'll follow along. Eric's going to start in mountain pose, doing the same 3-part breathing that we just learned. Notice that his body is activated, his fingers are bladed, and his nose is forward over his toes. Let's start simply with just moving the arms. Every movement in yoga has an exaggerated inhale or exhale because it's really the breathing that it's the forefront of this practice. So taking a large 3-part inhale, he reaches the arms up and overhead, belly, ribs, chest. Pause, exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Try that a couple more times, just trying to practice breathing and moving at the same time. Belly, ribs, chest. Slow exhale, and he presses the arms down. Notice how the fingers are bladed and activated. Inhale, reach the arms up. And as you press the arms down, it's like he's moving through water or mud. Good, so the arm muscles stay activated. Now let's add on the rest of the movement. So he brings his arms up as he inhales, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, he does an outside 90 position, so the forearms move away from the elbows, fingers are bladed. He's pinching the shoulder blades and lifting his chest bone and collarbones up to the ceiling. Notice he's not pressing his hips forward or bending the knees. We really want to isolate the upper back or the thoracic spine in this mobility movement. Inhale, he reaches the arms back up, reaching up out of the waist for the ceiling. Exhale, a swan dive forward, leading from the chest. Now notice he's going to bend his knees here. It's okay to bend your knees, especially if your hamstrings are tight, so he can really release the back and his head. Now let's stay here for a breath or so he can feel the 3-part breath in the back of his body. The lower back, the middle ribs, and the upper back between the shoulder blades expands. And exhale, it feels as if his upper back and the back of the body is sinking into the front of the body. And now inhale, halfway lift. He puts his hands on his thighs and lifts the collarbones up, almost like he's pinching a pencil between his shoulder blades, lifting the abs in and up. Now maintaining the length of the spine the whole time. Exhale, return to the forward fold position, letting the head go. And now reversing the swan dive. He'll take his arms out to the side as if he's pressing the walls away. Inhaling, lifting all the way up, making sure the nose is over the toes, the kneecaps and quads are lifted, and a slow exhale, he presses his arms back down to the side and returns to mountain pose and 3-part breathing. So go ahead and stand up if you're seated, and let's do this together. So finding mountain pose, pinching the shoulder blades, lifting the collarbones, and then find belly, ribs, chest, 3-part breathing. Release any obvious tension in the jaw or the shoulders. And then all together, inhale, reach the arms out to the side and all the way up, reach up, 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 wide ribs. Exhale, pull the elbows down, outside 90, lifting the chest bone up. Inhale, reach up. And then exhale, keep the spine long as you swan dive forward over the legs. Remember, it's okay to bend the knees. And if this hurts your low back in any way, you can also place your hands on your legs to support you. Otherwise, let the head go. Feel the weight of gravity releasing the head, the neck, and the back, and feel an exaggerated 3-part breathing in the back ribs. Good, and exhaling completely. Now inhale, halfway lift. Take your hands to your thighs, lift the collarbones up, pinch that imaginary pencil in between your shoulder blades. And remember, this isn't a coach on the sidelines watching the game with the shoulders up by the ears. You want to pull the shoulders and shoulder blades down the back so you really feel enough space for breathing. Try to keep that length the whole time and exhale, forward fold. All the way. Every drop of breath is out. Now inhale, push the walls away by taking your arms out to the side, lifting the collarbones all the way up. and a slow exhale where you press your arms down by your side. And when you return to mountain pose, try to avoid moving the shirt or touching your hair or face, and just get right back into that exaggerated 3-part breath. That's how you control the mind and the nervous system. Let's try that 2 more times together. So let all the breath out. And now inhale, reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, mini back bend, outside 90, lifting the chest. Inhale, reach up, exaggerated breaths. Slow exhale, swan dive forward all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift, breathe in all the air you can, pause. Exhale, let all the breath out, forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive all the way up, avoid rounding the spine. Exhale, bring the arms down by your side. And right away, let's do it again. Inhale up. Notice how slow the breath is. Exhale, outside 90. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, swan dive forward over the legs all the way down. Inhale, halfway lift. It's kind of like there's some traction in the spine, reaching the collarbones forward, but as if someone is pulling your hips back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reverse the swan dive all the way up and pause. Press the floor away with your feet, reach up to the ceiling with your fingertips, and a slow 5-count exhale as your arms return down to mountain pose, and then tap right into 3-part breath, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale, chest, ribs, belly. Add recovery breathing. Inhale for 3. Exhale, count down from 5. And that's your first drill. Now we're going to up-level the physical drills. We're going to do the same thing we did before. Active body, 3-part breath, but now we're going to do it in a plank pose like you're about to do a set of push-ups. Let's watch Eric first do the drill, and then you'll follow along. So he's going to start in a high plank position. There's an adaptation for this if you would rather keep the breath at the forefront of your practice versus the strength of a plank position. You can go ahead and lower the knees for an adapted version. This is different than a tabletop. In a tabletop position, the hips are back. You want to demonstrate that? The hips are back on top of the knees. But in our modified plank version, the hips are forward in line with the shoulders and the knees. He's looking just forward over his fingertips. So either on your knees like so, or knees lifted in a full plank position. Here's your adaptation for plank pose. Put your hands on the wall right in front of your shoulders. Keep your elbows straight and walk your feet back until it's challenging, continuing to lift your navel in towards your spine. The further back your feet go, the more challenging it will be. Make sure your fingers are spread and pushing the wall away, and continue with 3-part breath. And now we're going to stay here and do 5 recovery breaths. So remember, recovery breath is belly, ribs, chest, 3-part breathing, adding inhaling for a count of 3 and exhaling for a count of 5. So all you have to do is hold the position and start to match it with the exaggerated breath work. So notice what starts to happen as you might become fatigued after a while. Maybe you start to shake a little bit, that's okay. Maybe you start to drop your head or look around. Maybe you start to lose activation of the body. Keep blading the fingers out, pressing the floor away, and active legs as if someone were to come and sit on your hamstrings and you have to support them. Keep lifting the navel in. We don't want the pelvis to drop too low towards the floor or lift too high so you're in a V position. You're in one long line. 2 more breaths, belly, ribs, chest. Exhale slowly for a count of 5. So we're matching the challenge and stress of a plank pose with the calm control of breath work. One more time, belly, ribs, chest. Big breath in. Slow, controlled breath out. Now from here, he's going to lower his knees down, and he's going to do 10 low plank push-ups. In yoga, our push-ups have the elbows in instead of out. So you want to make sure your hands are in, shoulder width apart, and back towards your hips. Good. Inhale, he's just going to demonstrate about 3 of them. Exhale, he lowers down until his chest is about in line with his elbows. So his arms are at a 90-degree angle. And then he inhales to lift up. In yoga, we exhale to lower down. and we inhale to lift up. Notice his hands are still bladed and he's still doing his 3-part breathing. Exhale, he lowers down, not too low. Inhale, lift up. Now let's practice plank push-ups against the wall. Place your hands in front of your shoulders as if you're about to do a plank position against the wall, and walk your feet back slightly. In yoga push-ups, our elbows are in like tricep push-ups. Take an inhale and exhale, bend the elbows towards the ribs halfway. Inhale all the way back. No need to come all the way to the wall, just halfway. Inhale, exhale, lower, pull the elbows together. Inhale, press away. Exhale, lower. Inhale, press the wall away. After the 10th one, we're going to lower all the way to the floor until the chest bone touches the floor first. And then he's going to do a mini back bend called baby cobra. He flattens his feet so the shoelaces are on the floor and pulls his legs together. His hands will be back down by his low ribs. Inhale, lifting the collarbone up. Same thing when we were standing to do our mini back bend. He's just lifting the chest bone up here and still doing 3-part breathing. Notice if you can see his torso move as he inhales, belly pressing against the floor, ribs, chest lifting a little bit higher, and exhale. Here's your adaptation for baby cobra. Bring your hips and belly against the wall. Take your hands next to the low ribs. Press the wall away. Isolate the muscles in between the shoulder blades and lift the chest and collarbones up towards the ceiling, lifting your chin just slightly up towards the wall without crunching the back of the neck. And then here you can feel the belly inflate against the wall as you practice 3-part breath. Make sure to keep the hips and belly attached to the wall. From here, he'll press back to an all-fours tabletop position and do what we call cat-cow. He rounds the spine as he exhales. This is cat position. And then inhale, he extends the spine, lifting the sit bones and collarbones to what we call cow position. This is going to help warm up the spine and match movement with breath. Here's your adaptation in a chair for cat-cow. Take your hands to your knees, move away from the back of the chair, stabilize your feet underneath your knees. Big inhale and move your chest forward, pinching your shoulder blades, finding an extension. And exhale, round the spine, dropping the chin in towards the chest, pulling the navel in, sending the spine to the back of the chair. Inhale, extension, shoulders down. Exhale, flexion, round the spine. So we'll do this a couple times. Inhale, extend. And then finally we'll end with half downward facing dog or full downward facing dog. So from an extended position, he walks his hands out, keeping his hips over his knees, lowering the forehead to the floor. Notice that the elbows are extended and lifted, the armpits are lifting up away from the floor, the fingers are bladed, and it's really the chest that's moving down towards the floor to feel that open extension in the chest and upper back. His sit bones are pointing up towards the ceiling. If you want to do a full downward facing dog, then he's going to walk his hands in, tuck his toes, and lift his butt up into the air. You do not need to keep your knees straight in this position. So if you're feeling some resistance in the hamstring, go ahead and keep the knees bent because we want the spine to be in perfect alignment. Here's your adaptation with a chair for downward facing dog. Place your hands on the back of the chair and walk your feet back until your body's in a 90-degree angle. Keep lifting your elbows and arms away from the floor, but allow your head and chest to move down towards the floor, finding the extension in the chest. Make sure that you are extending your spine as if you were standing up straight. So you may need to bend the knees a little bit here. Send the sit bones up and back so you can feel a little bit of a curve in the lower back and the chest and shoulders opening. And of course, don't forget to breathe. Let's try that together. So find some space on the floor and find a high plank position. So remember, you have the choice to keep the knees lifted or lower them. If you lower them, it doesn't mean that you are not strong. It means that you're focusing on technique and breath work, which is the foundation of yoga. So from here, 5 recovery breaths in a high plank position. Belly, ribs, chest. Exhale for 5. Notice where the focus of your eyes are. Are they down on the floor? Are you moving around? You want to focus directly out in front of you, blading the fingers, pressing the floor away. Exaggerate belly, ribs, chest. Slow exhale for 5. And notice what happens when you start to get fatigued or stressed. Notice what your habits are. In yoga, we want to notice those habits and then replace them with efficient breathing instead. If you're fidgeting a lot or moving your eye focus, it's wasting energy. One more time. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Slow exhale. Now keep with the 3-part breathing. You can let go of the recovery breath. We're going to do the push-ups now, the yoga low plank push-ups. Feel free to lower the knees now if you would like. Inhale. Exhale, bend the elbows, come halfway down. Make sure the elbows are touching the ribs. If they're not, correct that. And inhale, come back up. Exhale for 2. Go nice and slow, moving at the rate of your breathing. Inhale, lift up. Exhale for 3, lower down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale for 4. Keep going. Notice if you're forgetting about your breath and thinking solely about strength, or are you keeping the breath before the movement? Notice if you've dropped your head and you're looking down. Notice if your hands are too far apart. The key word I'm saying here is notice. 4 more. Inhale up. Notice if you're dropping into your low back or clenching your shoulders up by your ears. Good. Take 1 more full one. Exhale, lower. Don't go too far down, only halfway. Inhale up. Exhale. Now here's a challenge. Halfway down, we're going to hold for 3 breaths. Notice if your arms start shaking, that's okay. That's stress. That's challenge. How are you going to approach it? Approach it with calmness. Approach it with control. Approach it with breath. Good. 1 more inhale. Big breath in. As you exhale, chest touches the floor. Lift the collarbones up, baby cobra. This is just a mini back bend where we're working on the strength in the upper back. Press the pelvis against the floor to protect the low back. Press the tops of the feet against the floor. Make sure the hands are by your low ribs, pinching the shoulder blades together, and that you're incorporating 3-part breath. Good. Big breath in. Lift the collarbones higher. Exhale, tabletop position or all 4s. Good. Release the spine, press the floor away, round the spine like an angry cat, letting the head drop. Big inhale to extend the spine, pulling the shoulders back towards the hips, lifting the collarbones and sit bones. Exhale, round the spine. Just this movement of cat and cow in coordination with breath is yoga. So if you ever feel like your spine is tight or your mind is a little anxious, just doing this position can be effective for you. And now moving to a half downward facing dog. So from an extended position, walk your hands out, making sure your hips stay above your knees so your legs are in a 90-degree angle. Keeping your elbows and forearms lifted away from the floor, fingers bladed, and then release the head and chest towards the floor and incorporate 3-part breath. Feel the back of the body inflate and the back of the body deflate. Now if you want a little bit more, full downward facing dog. Walk your hands back slightly, tuck your toes underneath, and lift your hips up and back behind you. It's like you're a tent and the hips are the top of the tent, or a capital letter A. Feel free to keep the knees bent so you can really press the chest back towards the thigh bones. Good. Belly, ribs, chest. Chest, ribs, belly. 1 more breath together. Inhale, belly, ribs, chest. Pressing the heels toward the floor. And then lower your knees down to the floor. And that's your second drill. Our final drill is going to up level even more, and then we'll directly go into a cool down. So watch Eric do it first. We're going to start just as we did before in a high plank position. From here, we're going to do what we call ladder breath. Remember, you can always adapt the pose by lowering your knees. Ladder breath, he takes a giant inhale, 3-part breath, and exhale, bends his elbows 1/2 inch. Then there he remains, takes a giant inhale, and exhale, lowers 1/2 inch. Inhale. Notice his chest is moving forward as he's moving down, almost like he's pulling the floor up to him. Inhale, exhale, he lowers all the way to the floor. Here's your adaptation for ladder plank pose with ladder breath work. Take your feet underneath your hips and move your hands down so they're right in front of your chest. Inhale here, and exhale, bend the elbows in towards your ribs 1/2 inch only. Inhale, exhale, bend 1/2 inch. Inhale, exhale, bend 1/2 inch. For an added challenge, stay here and take 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, inhale, press the wall away and straighten your elbows. Baby Cobra one more time, just like we did before, followed by Superman pose. So he reaches the fingertips out, almost like he's making little tents. Pressing the fingertips down, he lifts the collarbones up, lifts the chest up. Inhale, he lifts his right thigh bone off the floor so the leg remains straight. Then the left arm lifts as he inhales. The left thigh bone is going to match the right leg, lifting up. Exhale. And inhale, he lifts the right arm to meet the left. Superman pose for 3 breaths. Belly, ribs, chest. He lifts higher, engaging the muscles in the back of the body. And he'll stay here for 2 more breaths. Notice we continue to activate and strengthen the back of the body while opening up the front of the body. Typically, the front of the body is very tight and the back of the body is very weak. Here's your adaptation in a chair for Superman position. Inhale, lift your arms up overhead. Now see if you can lift your chest up towards the ceiling a little bit more and sending your arms back behind you. Keep working on moving the chest open and strengthening the muscles in between the shoulder blades on either side of the spine. Notice as you fatigue, your arms might start to want to bend, so keep extending the fingertips up towards the ceiling and of course doing 3-part breath. Imagine you're pressing the belly and ribs against the floor, and imagine you're lifting your chest up and away from the floor. And breathe here. From here, he'll move into Sphinx pose, moving the elbows underneath the shoulders, pressing the floor away, blading the fingers, lifting the collarbones up, also lifting the navel into the spine to protect the low back, and pressing the feet on the floor so that the thighs and knees lift upward. Again, trying to isolate the upper back to lift up and forward. Here's your adaptation for Sphinx pose. Take your elbows underneath your shoulders, moving away from the wall just a couple of inches. And then press the elbows into the wall and lift your chest and collarbones up towards the ceiling, lifting the chest slightly. Try to keep your pelvis over your ankles, lifting the navel in towards the spine, pinching the shoulder blades together to isolate the upper back muscles. We'll go directly into our cool down. He extends the right arm out from the shoulder, directly out at a 90-degree angle. Bending the left knee, he'll push on his left hand to open up the body until his left foot comes to the opposite side. This is opening up the shoulder and the chest, and he'll stay here for 3 breaths, and then we'll do the other side. Here's your adaptation for supine shoulder opener. Turn to your left, taking your right hand to the wall. And start to move your hips and shoulders away from the wall, pressing your entire palm against the wall. The further you move towards the center of the room, the more it will open the chest and shoulders. So you can take this little by little. You can also choose to turn the fingertips back behind you instead of up towards the ceiling for a different sensation. Keep the right shoulder down and breathe wherever you're feeling the resistance. After he does the other side, we're going to move into head to knee pose. So he comes back down to his belly, pressing to all 4s, moving the hips to one side and the legs around in front of him. He'll take the bottom of one foot to the inside of his thigh, flexing the other leg forward. Notice the toes are flexing back towards the knees. He's putting his hands behind him in order to keep the length of the spine as the priority. We don't want to reach, do the sit and reach, or re-rounding the spine. That creates spine flexion instead of the hip and hamstring mobility. But if there's space, as he's here breathing long enough, he may want to start to walk his hands forward. You want to feel like the chest bone is moving forward towards the toes and the toes are pulling back towards the chest, keeping the strength and activation in the left leg the whole time. And then we'll switch and do the other side. Let's try this all together. Go ahead and start in the high plank position. Make sure you have space. As soon as you find the position of your body, find the pace of your breathing and the focus of your eyes. Make sure every single part of your body is placed exactly how you want it. Find 3-part breathing. And now let's move into ladder breath. Inhale here. Exhale, lower 1/2 inch. Pull your elbows together towards your ribs. Make sure your hands aren't too wide. Inhale. Exhale, another 1/2 inch. Chest moves down first. Inhale, big breath. Exhale, 1/2 inch. Last time, big breath in. Slow breath out, lower to the floor. And find baby cobra where you just lift the chest. Inhale. From here, Superman pose. Extend your fingers out. Press down on the fingertips to lift the chest through and up and out of the shoulders. Lift the right leg up. Make sure to not bend the knee. Lift the right thigh. Then lift the left arm. Almost like you're shaking someone's hand or going to give someone a high five. The hand is bladed. Left thigh meets the right. Lift the right arm up. 3 breaths in Superman pose. Don't just get through the posture. Try to improve it each time, lifting higher, breathing deeper, focusing more, blading the fingers, spreading the toes apart in the shoes. Good. Exhale. 1 more breath. Everyone lift higher up. Exhale, find Sphinx position. Elbows come underneath the shoulders. Now, even though you're not looking at your legs and feet, you still want to know where they're placed and what they're doing. So bring the legs together, pressing down on the tops of the feet. Make sure the thigh bones and knees are lifted. Pull the navel in towards the spine to protect the low back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Separate the collarbone so the chest is lifted. Blading the fingers, pressing the floor away. Big 3-part breath. Good. Constantly opening up the front of the body, strengthening the back of the body. From here, directly into our cool down. Extend your right arm out from the shoulder, 90-degree angle. Left hand underneath the left shoulder. Bend the left knee and push the body open until the left foot finds the floor behind you. You can release the head to the floor. If you have a sweatshirt, you can even put a sweatshirt underneath the head to support the head, or you can keep the head lifted. Make sure the right hand is bladed, and you keep pressing on the pinky finger side of the hand. Big breath in. Notice if you've forgotten to breathe when something becomes difficult or the body starts to resist or you start to feel immobility. It's hard to create mobility when as soon as we feel resistance from the body, we stop doing something or we stop breathing. We want to breathe into the stress that's caught into the tissues and joints. Good, big breath in. Exhale, roll back to your belly. Let's do the other side, extending the left arm out, bending the right knee, and then pressing the body open. Good. We want to focus on opening up the chest and the inside of the shoulder. And even though you're not looking at it, know what your fingers are doing. Blade them against the floor, pressing on the pinky finger side to keep an external rotation in the arm bone. Still doing 3-part breath. The breathing is the foundation that always remains there the entire time, especially when a drill is challenging. Good, big breath in. Exhale, return back down to your belly. Press yourself to a tabletop, all fours position, hips to one side, and swing the legs out in front of you. Extend one leg forward, making sure that you keep that leg active, pulling the toes towards the chest. Let's all take our hands behind us. Even if you have that mobility in the hips, take your hands behind you at first to extend the spine, dropping the shoulders, lifting the collarbones, finding your 3-part breath first. If you are already feeling that there's some resistance in the hips and hamstring, feel free to stay here and breathe. That mobility will come with time. By rounding your spine and reaching forward, that's not going to be effective at all. And in fact, it could be damaging to the spine. Good, big breath in. If you want to scoot yourself a little bit more forward, you can. Big inhale. Now purposely release the body forward. If you're doing it on purpose as a way of letting go in the neck, letting go in the shoulders, that's okay. We just want to make sure it's for that reason. Good, big breath in. Exhale, let the head drop and release. Good, inhale, come back up to a nice tall spine, and let's switch legs. Good. Make sure the pinky toe side of your foot is pulling back towards you. We have a tendency to take the big toe side towards us and kind of sickle the foot and ankle. This isn't good if we're trying to prevent injury. So pulling the entire toes back, especially the pinky toe side, taking the hands down, pushing them down to lift the chest, 3-part breath. Notice where you're feeling resistant, and then start to breathe into that area. Belly, ribs, chest. Exhale slowly. No need to push yourself forward unless you have space to do so. One more big breath in. And then exhale, purposely round and release. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Actually make an HA sound out the mouth. Good. Notice if you're holding your head up or holding your shoulders, now's the time to release and let everything go. Good. You can also add a recovery breath here, in for 3, out for 5. And then inhale, come all the way up, seated nice and tall. And now from here, we'll move on to neurological reset. Neurological reset is the recovery portion of the YFFR training protocol. Neuro resets can have a variety of methods and application. For example, a neuro reset can be 10 minutes long and you can practice it in your bunk room before bed, just like the tension release exercise you'll be practicing later. Or it can be 2 minutes long and you can practice it seated at your desk. We will do the shorter version now so you can see how simple it is to regulate your system whenever you need it. We'll do this recovery technique all together. So lean back in your chair. Try to avoid slumping, but just so you're supported by your chair. And take your hands to your belly. It's your choice if you'd like to keep your eyes open or closed. If your eyes are open, focus on one still spot in front of you. Instead of a full 3-part breath, just focus back on belly breathing only. So inhale, feel the belly press open against your belt and your hands, and maybe feel the low back expand towards the chair. Exhale slowly, the entire lower torso deflates. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly deflates. Only belly breath right now. This is called belly breath countdown. So inhale completely. Now as you exhale every drop of air, make sure every drop is out, and then pause at the bottom of the exhale and silently to yourself say 10. Inhale, expand the belly. Exhale, deflate. And then pause at the bottom of the exhale and silently say 9. You're going to repeat the same thing, counting down from 10 to 1. Remember, it's not a race. We're not going down to 1 as quickly as we can. If you lose your spot in the countdown because your mind starts to wander, it's okay. Start again at 10. Notice if there's any obvious tension that you can release. Can you draw in more breath, make it slower? Try to focus on one thing, and that's the belly breathing and the countdown. Wherever you are in the countdown, keep the belly breathing going, but pause the numbers. Now, at the bottom of the next exhale, instead of a number, You're going to say silently the phrase, I am calm. You're going to repeat it 3 times at the bottom of your next exhale. Repeat that exercise 2 more times. Inhaling, exhaling, I am calm. For the next 3 breaths, say to yourself at the bottom of the exhale, I am safe. And now for the next 3 breaths, at the bottom of the exhale, repeat to yourself just the word recover. You are only as resilient as your ability to recover. So we're going to take 1 more minute in recovery. You can continue with this exercise, belly breathing, breath countdown, or repeating one of the phrases I gave you if it's going to help focus the mind on one point. Otherwise, feel free to have your hands on your thighs. Again, eyes open or closed, and see how still you can be. Still physically and still mentally. Almost as if you become part of the space around you instead of an object in space. Notice when your mind wanders and what it thinks about. And then as soon as you catch it thinking about something, bring it back to breathing. That's how you control your mind, through the breath. You can always incorporate 3-part breathing again. Notice that all of these exercises that I gave you are at your fingertips whenever you need to use them. When you're skilled in stillness, you'll be more effective in action. Start to deepen the breath now, maybe moving into a mild 3-part breathing, belly, ribs, chest. Slow exhale out. And as you start to breathe deeper, maybe start to move the body a little bit, waking up into your body. Practicing yoga changes the brain waves, it changes the chemical structure in our body. So you're a little bit different now than before when you started these drills. So get to know your body, get to know your mind as if it's for the first time. If your eyes are closed, go ahead and flutter them open. And then just to complete our practice today, inhale and lift your shoulders up by your ears, make some tension. As you exhale, sigh out the mouth and drop the shoulders, releasing anything else that you don't need. 2 more times. Inhale, create tension on purpose. Exhale it out, release. 1 more time. Inhale and release. I always finish my training classes by saying, you can't always control what happens on the outside, but you can always control what happens on the inside. And that's what yoga is all about.
My training chief actually bought brought yoga for first responders to our fire department. He saw a need in our department between a morale issue, a physical injury issue, a mental health issue, all kind of rolled into one. And so that's why he kind of thought outside the box and brought yoga into our fire department as a training protocol, actually subbing out hose drills once a week or once a tour for us, and plugged yoga in as our mandatory training for that week. I absolutely see the benefits. Not only do I see them as I continue to practice, but I got benefits from my crew feedback as well as a company officer. And so the benefits that I really see is that we are already training in some of the mindset of yoga from our mentors. They have always taught us to take a deep breath if you get on a scene when you're in a situation that you can't control. Take a deep breath, bring your focus and attention together, and then get to work. And so that's really what yoga does, is it trains that mindset on the yoga mat. So through breathing, you can change mental transitions and do your job more effectively using the techniques you learn in yoga class. So a real-time example of one of my crew members learning or using the yoga technique that he learned in yoga class was one of those nights. It was kind of a tough night, not a bad call per se, but just back-to-back runs kind of night. Can't get to sleep because your sleep cycle is messed up. And he came to me the next morning and said, "Hey, LT, I actually got myself back to sleep last night." And I said, "Well, how'd you do that?" And he said, "Using those yoga techniques where you're learning in class, I was able to control my mind and get myself back into a regulated state." And so then it clicked that this is actually working and they're applying it to their lives.
Why are both physical and psychological benefits being reported for those practicing yoga consistently? Why is data increasing on the neurological and somatic effects of yoga? Let's find out why. A former Navy SEAL who participates regularly in yoga training reports both physical and psychological benefits. The breathing techniques have been described as useful in helping with diving, being more comfortable when working in contorted or difficult positions, remaining focused on tasks longer, and staying in confined spaces for longer periods of time.
So, why does yoga work? Yoga falls within a bottom-up approach to behavioral health. Bottom-up approaches are body-based methods which typically include strong elements of movement and the practice of alert presence, skillfully maintaining an awareness to aspects of the here and now and how our body is functioning within the present situation. In contrast to top-down approaches, which attempt to directly change thoughts and emotions, a bottom-up approach targets what's happening under the radar of our experience, the underlying processes which shape and organize our conscious experience, even before we become aware of it as thought and emotion. In exploring how the body and brain respond to stress, a key concept which has grown out of research is called the window of tolerance. This is a term initially coined by Dr. Dan Siegel, and it refers to the span of arousal, excitement, energy levels within which our nervous system can maintain adaptive and optimal functioning. At the outer edges of our window of tolerance, our system moves toward either chaos or rigidity, and we lose the ability to flexibly adapt to features of our environment. We lose the ability to flow with optimal functioning. Now, the good news is that the width of our window of optimal performance can be shifted. We can speak of stretching or widening this window of tolerance, which means broadening the span within which a person or pair or team can function adaptively. So this is what we're doing when we practice yoga. If someone insists on thinking of yoga as just stretching and flexibility, we can say, yeah, through my practice of yoga, I'm stretching my nervous system's window of tolerance, I'm becoming more flexible in my responses, I'm creating a wider zone of optimal performance in which I'm calm, cool, collected, and connected.
Why does yoga work? Yoga works because of the unique way in which it engages the mind and body. It impacts us across the entire spectrum of the human experience, from the sensory stimulation of physical drills to the mental engagement to nervous system conditioning. The practice of yoga meets each person where they are with what they need in that moment. Yoga has been shown to reduce stress, strengthen immunity, increase awareness and performance, and assist with emotional stability and regulation. Now, the primary way this is accomplished is through the breath. One of the most powerful tools in our yoga toolbox is represented by YFFR's tactical breathwork techniques. What these practices do is access the centers of the brain responsible for managing both automatic and voluntary respiratory functions. By practicing these techniques regularly, you build more neural connections and begin to increase the level of control around the respiratory process. Now, a side effect of this is that it impacts other involuntary functions such as heart rate, blood pressure, overall muscle tone, and our states of mind. And as this is happening, the practice is strengthening the connection between both branches of our autonomic nervous system, the fight or flight sympathetic, and the rest and digest parasympathetic branches. It's through the integrated practices of tactical breathwork, physical drills, cognitive declarations, and neurological reset that we are able to isolate, harness, and train these nervous system divisions to work together more efficiently and effectively, bringing them into a state known as sympathetic parasympathetic synchrony. The why behind why yoga works is that it increases awareness, rebuilds and strengthens neural pathways that may have been dampened due to stress or trauma, and increases our resilience by balancing our ability to react to stress and recover efficiently. Over time, it allows us to access the deeper wells of our physiology, affording us increased energy and performance surrounding job-specific tasks. Last, but certainly not least, the practice of yoga increases our quality of life by providing us with space. The inner space to find joy in the day-to-day experiences that we may have lost sight of due to stress, drama, or trauma on the job.